Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. Today Fantasy Flight announced Star Wars Destiny Allies of Necessity, the upcoming draft set for Convergence, so it should be coming out in the second quarter of this year. So again, we're getting some more characters and dice to use with drafting. Here's what the box is supposed to look like. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the cards. I'm going to give my thoughts on a few of them. So we have a few characters to talk about. I think like an event and a plot. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into those. And first up, we have Count Dooku, corrupted politician, 9 health, 11 or 13 points, depending on how you want to run him. 2 melee damage, focus, discard, resource, and blank. He's a leader and a Sith, and as a power action, you can play a blue card from your hand, paying its cost, then force an opponent to discard a card from their hand. So this will be drafting blue. You're going to go with Dooku here. Two damage sides. There's no modifiers or resource costs associated with that. I think for draft, if you're running just one of them, you have 11 points there. Pretty decent die at 11. So again, you get those 2 damage sides. You have a focus you can use, discards, resources, and then once per round, you're going to be able to play a blue card, and then force your opponent to discard as well. And it looks like this one's actually a blue villain. So I believe in the Rivals draft set, all the characters were neutral. It looks like there's actually going to be hero, villain, and neutral cards in this draft set. And then, of course, when you're drafting, factions don't really matter. You can have hero and villain and neutral all on the same team. You still have to go with the color restrictions. If you're running all blue, you can still only run gray and blue cards, for example. But it looks like there's going to be some of the other cards coming up are going to be hero and neutral. So again, we have Count Dooku here. Again, 9 health and 11 points. If you're just doing draft, you're only going to generally be able to run one anyway. So 11 points for a 9-point character with some decent damage sides on him as well. So that is Count Dooku. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Fenn Rau, Mandalorian Protector, 9 health. Again, 11 or 13 points, just like Dooku. Red Hero in this case. He's a pilot and a trooper. His sides, he has 2 range damage, focus, shield, the resource, and the blank, and a power action. Power action, play a red card from your hand, paying its cost, then deal 1 indirect damage to an opponent. So, but looks like all of these cards are going to have, at least all the cards that have color associated with them, are going to have a power action. So Dooku has one, Fenn Rau has one, and the card we're going to talk about next also has one. Again, pretty decent damage sides here. So you have two damage sides, no modifiers or resource costs on them. You can be able to focus as well as get shields and resources. And then 11 or 13 points. Running him at elite could be interesting because let's say you roll out 2 of his 2 damage sides and deal 4 damage. He could be interesting in draft. I like that. Again, there's no resources or modified sides to this damage. So some of the other stuff from the other draft set had, like I know Anakin had like a pay side and so on. But so this is a Mandalorian. Going to be interesting to see him in play. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have the Outer Rim Outlaw, 8 health for 10 points. It's a Scavenger and a Scoundrel as its subtypes. 2 range damage, 2 melee damage for a resource, 2 indirect damage, disrupt, resource, and blank, and a power action. Play a yellow card from your hand, paying its cost. Then reroll an opponent's die or reroll up to 3 of your dice. So this one does have a resource cost on it for its melee damage, but then on top of that, it also has 3 damage sides. Both Dooku and Fenn Rau both only have 2 damage sides. So I think the resource cost aside on this one is pretty well balanced. So 2 melee damage for 1 resource. Again, all of them have power actions and only cost 10 points. And this one's also a non-unique. So you'd be able to run, if you wanted to run an entire team of these, you would be able to run 3 of them. You would have 24 health. It's kind of low, but decent damage sides here. So we have basically all 3 damage types. You have range, melee, and indirect. And then a pretty cool power action that'll let you either reroll an opponent's die, or you can reroll 3 of your own dice. Even if you run, like, let's say you run 2 of this on a team, and not drafting like in constructed, you'll be able to power action, maybe reroll 3 of your dice, and then use the other one to power action to reroll an opponent's. So that is the Outer Rim Outlaw. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have the Claudite Shapeshifter. 6 health for 6 points. This is our neutral gray character for the draft set. So it's a shapeshifter character. That's a new subtype, I believe. We have 1 indirect, 2 indirect, disrupt, resource, and 2 blanks. And after you activate this character, you may choose a character subtype. Until the end of this round, this character gains the chosen subtype. So if you're putting this into a trooper deck, you could basically activate it, roll it in, and call trooper, and this will count as a trooper character. So you'll be able to use cards that affect trooper characters and trooper dice on this character, even though technically it's not a trooper, but when you roll it in, you're able to give it that subtype. So I imagine you can give it, like leader, scoundrel, trooper, and so on. And then we have just 2 damage sides. It's all indirect, so it's very much going to be doing just like pinging low amounts of damage. But again, this is the neutral character for this set, just like the Jawa from the last set. I think the ability is pretty interesting because it does look like they are going to start doing stuff that will affect certain types of characters. Like we saw Phasma, and I think Phasma had some abilities that helped you do stuff with your trooper dice. So this is the Claudite Shapeshifter. We have a couple more cards to look at, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into those. We'll be right back. And next up, we have Chance Encounter. This is a neutral gray event 1 resource. Choose and do 1. Spot a leader to turn a die to any side. Spot a scoundrel to reroll up to 3 dice. Doesn't specify which dice, so you can reroll 2 of yours and 1 of your opponents. You reroll 3 of yours. Just says reroll up to 3 dice. And the third option, spot a trooper to remove a die showing a value of 1 or less. So depending on what kind of character subtypes you have in play, you'll be able to play this event and do one of these 3 options depending on if you're playing a character that has the leader subtype, the scoundrel subtype, or the trooper subtype. Or again, if you're using the Claudite Shapeshifter, you can roll it in, call one of these, and then use Chance Encounter, spot that card to do whatever. So let's say your opponent's rolling first, then roll in the Shapeshifter, calling whatever you want. Let's say, and then you say leader because they see they're playing. They might roll in some heavy damage. You spot a leader, and then you basically just turn it to a blank. Or if you have a scoundrel, you get to reroll 3 dice, or remove a die showing a value of 1 or less. The trooper could be like 1 damage, could be a special or a blank. But some pretty good flexibility with this card. We have one more card. We're going to be looking at a plot. We'll be right back with that. And finally, we have our plot, Allies of Necessity. Include only if 2 or more characters on your team share a color. After setup, discard a card from your hand and lose 2 resources. And it's worth -2 points. I really don't like this plot. It puts you at a huge disadvantage in the first round because you are both you're losing a card. You're starting with 4 cards in your hand, and you're also starting the game with no resources at all. I guess it might work if you really want to if you need those extra 2 points really badly, but I think the penalty doesn't make it worth it because again, starting with 4 cards, starting with no resources is going to be, I think, a huge detriment to your team. Unless you're just running like running new Vader, like Force to Behold, like Terror to Behold, and you need an extra 2 points to include another character, and you can rely on Vader getting his his normal damage sides that don't have resources associated with them, or potentially rolling characters and then resolving resources then. But I think the penalty here is just too great. So you do get 2 points, or you subtract 2 points from your team, but then you're starting with no resources, and you're going to be down a card as well. So not a fan of this plot. Don't think a lot of people are going to be playing it. That's going to do for this video. We'll be doing more videos for any more Destiny spoilers that get shown for either the new set or this new draft set. That's going to do it for now. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.